O God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ve'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham v'anachnu nevarech Yah me'ata ve'ad olam. Please join me in senior programs. Oh God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone. I'm Stephanie Bernstein, one of the rabbis here at Temple Rodef Shalom, and I'm here with my colleague, Cantor Michael Shockett, and we are so happy that you are all here with us today for Shabbat and to celebrate the wonderful occasion on which Andrew is going to be called to the Torah for the first time as a Bar Mitzvah. So just a couple of announcements before we continue with our service, and I don't know when I'm going to stop saying this, but I'm so happy to ask you to turn off your cell phones, and the reason I'm happy is that until recently, we had just a handful of people in the sanctuary. So now, I've never been so happy to make an announcement in my life. Please turn off your cell phones or anything that makes noise. We are live streaming the service, and it will be archived as well, so if you want to go back and watch it again, you can. We don't permit the taking of any photographs during this service. And also, I wanted to remind everybody to please keep their masks on during this service. We really appreciate that. However, even with your masks on, you can participate, you can sing, and our prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, if you are anywhere but the very front row, it is just in front of you, in back of the seat that's in front of you. It looks like this, and we will, and in the front row, absolutely, it is, Grandpa figured it out, it's under the seat in the front row, and we'll announce the page numbers so that you'll know where we are. There'll be times when we'll invite you to join us in a responsive reading, and certainly in song. And Cantor Shockett will tell everybody who's watching right now on the live stream, welcome, how they can access the prayer book.
Thank you. You know, if you're watching on our website, you can turn to right above the player window is a little icon that has a picture of our prayer book on it, Mishkan Tefillah. Just click on that, and when either Andrew or we offer a page number, you can type it in right at the bottom of the window and go right to that page. So that way you can join in at home. We want to hear them singing from home, don't we?
Absolutely. We should be able to. We should be able to.
Absolutely.
So I know that everybody who's here today in the sanctuary and people watching at home are so happy for Andrew, and that your hearts are so full of love and with gratitude for the blessing of being here today to see Andrew called to the Torah. And to people who are here, Andrew's parents, Jill and Mike, their hearts are so overflowing that we can't even imagine. And we're going to ask them to stand now with Andrew to give them their own private blessing.
Lehi lach, to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lehi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. And you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Echilach. And now we're going to open our prayer books, and I'd like you to turn to page 6 in your prayer book, page 6. If, by the way, you are only seeing one set of page numbers at the bottom of your prayer book for all of those here in the sanctuary, then you have the wrong prayer book. So you should see page numbers in black and then page numbers in brackets. That's the right prayer book. But we're on page 6, which are the page numbers in black. And at the bottom of that page 6 is a reading that helps us put our minds into the place of this sacred space. So won't you join me responsively with this reading? May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its thresholds be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. And now I'm going to have you turn to the Shabbat Afternoon, the Mincha service, page 224. Page 224, as I chant the Chatzi Kaddish that separates the beginning of the service to the Tefillah section that Andrew will help us lead. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach cherutei ve'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yom hechon ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, והימרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם עולמי עולמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דעה מאירן בעלמה Ve'imeru. Amen. And we rise now as we turn to page 226, and we invite Andrew forward to lead us in this section of the service. And Andrew, you can take your mask off.
We continue with the Tefillah on page 226. Please join me as we chant the prayers on the next few pages together. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiyaki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Velohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem
למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
We continue in responsive prayer on page 229. Our fathers and mothers prayed, each through their own experience of God, each through their own visions, which we have come to share.
Abraham, with the fervor of justice, pleaded the cause of cities. Sarah, in the pain of waiting, dared to hope for new life.
Isaac, meditating alone in the field, lifted his eyes to find love. Rebekah asked for the ability to discern God's call.
Jacob climbed the rungs of his night into heaven, seeking destiny. Leah dreamed of love, and Rachel sought harmony.
We, as they, seek God's presence. We continue together on page 230 with the giver wrote. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol, ata rav lehoshia, morid hato, mechochel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei holim, umakir hasurim, umakayim emunato lishenei afar, mihamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech b'mit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata l'chachiot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. We continue responsively on the next page. Your might, O God, is everlasting. Help us to use our strength for good and not evil.
You are the source of life and blessing. Help us to choose life for ourselves and our children.
You are the support of the fallen. Help us to lift up the fallen.
You are the author of freedom. Help us to free the captive.
You are our hope in life as in death as in life. Help us to keep faith with those who sleep in the dust.
Your might, O God, is everlasting. Help us to use our strength for good.
For blessing and not for curse, for life and not death, for abundance, not want. We continue with the Kedushah on page 232.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו, אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
To all generations we will declare your greatness, and for all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated. Our service continues on page 234 with the chanting of the Kadshenu. Eloheinu, v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Ritzei v'Imnuchatenu, Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tein helkenu b'toratecha, Sabeinu mitovecha, v'samchenu b'shuatecha, v'tacher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet, v'chahilenu Adonai Eloheinu be'achava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha v'yanuhu va'Yisrael mekadeshei shemecha. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Please join me responsively on page 235. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the peace in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. Page 237. Adonai, our God, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we see you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all hands, you are our God, whom alone we serve and reverence. Page 238. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu le'olam va'ed. Zor chayinu magen yishenu atahu lador vador. Page 239. For the gift of our souls, for the promise of our lives, for all we are and all we might yet become, for the creative seeds sown within our minds, whose nurturing can yield a grand harvest. For all these gifts, we thank you, O God, and pray that we prove ourselves worthy. Together, may our lives be ripe with the fruit of compassion, sweetly sustaining those in need. May we use our gifts wisely and with love, true messengers of blessing to the world. Baruch atah Adonai, chatov shemcha, ulachana elehodot.
Amen. Beautiful job, Andrew. You may have a seat. And let's join together on page 240 with our song of peace, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom, shalom rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam, shalom rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Our prayer for peace speaks to us asking God to bring peace to us, our community, our world, our people, and now we take a moment to find the prayers within our own hearts as we pray silently. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru imeru amen ve'imru amen. Well, we've come now to the central part of our worship service where Andrew will be reading from the Sefer Torah. At a Mincha service, we actually begin the next week's worth of Torah readings. So Andrew begins the new Torah portion that begins this afternoon. It's called Balak, and in just a moment, he'll tell you what his reading is all about. The Torah service has special ceremony to it. We'll actually take two Torahs out of the Ark, one that Andrew will read from. It's a very large Torah. It makes it much easier to read from. And then a Torah that has been in our Jewish tradition for 350 years that will be passed from the grandparents' generation, down into Andrew's arms. This Torah, which we call our Carpathian Torah because it comes from the Carpathian Mountains in Romania, was written on horseback years ago in the 17 or 1800s, whenever it was, by rabbis from town to town so that people could read that Torah. And here now Andrew gets to hold it and sing with me the Shema that reminds us that it is our tradition, our faith that has sustained us for all these years. And so I first want to say Mazel Tov to the grandparents who are sitting here in the front row, to Stanley and Sylvia Applebaum. Mazel Tov to you both. And we're going to invite you to join us here on the Bima as we ask Andrew and Rabbi Bernstein to open the Ark. We all rise as we prepare to take the Torahs from the Ark. Ein kamocha va'elohim Adonai ve'ein kemaasecha מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
Andrew, as you receive this Torah, remember its teachings, its wisdom, and its history. Let it guide you this day and all days. As you embrace it, so may you embrace what it has meant for the Jewish people over the generations. Judaism is history and hope, learning and laughter. We pray that the story of the Jewish people continues brightly with you as you grow as a person and as a Jew. May you embrace the Torah your whole life.
Andrew, as you hold that Torah and I hold this Torah, let's join together with our whole congregation as we sing the words of our people, the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadelul Adonai iti uneremema Shemo yachdav. Now, Andrew, you can pass the Torah back to Rabbi Bernstein, and we can ask, and you can help close the ark with Rabbi Bernstein. We can ask everyone to be seated as we undress this Torah. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hachod ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz lecha Adonai הממלכה והמית נעשה לכל הראש. Why don't you guys come over here, and can you tell us what your Torah portion is about?
The Torah portion for this Shabbat that I will be reading is called Balak.
Hang on one second. We just need to get your audio. Okay, try it again.
The Torah portion for this Shabbat that I will be reading is called Balak. It comes from the book of Numbers, and my Hebrew reading begins with chapter 22, verse 21. In this portion, King Balak sends a sorcerer by the name of Balaam to curse the Israelites, whom he doesn't like.
So, Andrew, for your first Aliyah, we have your grandparents here who will lead us in the blessings. Stanley and Sylvia Applebaum. Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah la'tohora.
Yep.
Baruch hu et Adonai hambarach, Baruch Adonai hambarach v'yom v'ed, Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Asher tzvach banu mikol olamim, v'notan lanu et torato, Baruch ato Adonai notein ha'torah.
Just going to move you a little bit out of the way. So
Amen.
No,
Vayakum
don't stay here.
Bil'am b'boker, Vayachavosh et atono, Vayelech im sareh mo'ahav, Vayichar af Elohim, Ki cholechu, Vayityatzeh mo'ach Adonai, Baderech l'satan lo, V'hu rochev alotano, Ushne na'arav imohu, V'terech ha'aton, Et malach Adonai nitzav b'derech, V'charabaho shalufa b'yado, ותית חתון מן הדרך, ותלך בשדך, ויח בלעם את חתון, וחתותך הדרך.
Beautiful job, Andrew. And now, Stanley and Sylvia.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tuchenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashikah. Congratulations to you both. You may be seated. Yeah. And then now, Andrew, for your second aliyah, which begins with Numbers chapter 22, verse 21, we invite your mom, accompanied by your dad. Ta'amol ha'ola la'aleh la Torah. Jill and Mike.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher barchar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaya'amod malach Adonai b'mish'ol hakramim, gader mizeh v'gader mizeh, v'tzerech ha'aton et malach Adonai, v'tilahitz el hakir, v'tilachatz et regel bil'am el hakir, v'yosef l'hakotaha. Vayosef malach Adonai avor, vaya'amod b'makom sar, asher ein derech lintot yamin usmohu. V'terech ha'aton et malach Adonai, v'tirabatz tachat bil'am, v'yichar af bil'am, v'yach et ha'aton b'makel.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach to you both. And Andrew, you're doing such a superb job. For your third aliyah, we get to call you by, you can stay up here with Andrew. You can, we get to call you by your Hebrew name, now for the first time as a bar mitzvah. Ya'amod, Ya'amod, Ya'amod habachor habar mitzvah, Ravid ben Goldeve Michael aleh la Torah hazak.
Baruch et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayiftach Adonai et pi ha'aton, v'tomer levil'am me'asiti lecha, ki hikitani zeh shalosh regel ihim. Vayomer bil'am la'aton, ki titolot bi, yesh cherev biyadi, ki atah haragtich. V'tomer ha'aton el bil'am, chalo, anochi aton ha, asher rachavta alai, me'odecha ar chayom hazeh, asken hiskanti l'sot lecha kol, vayomer lo, vayigo Adonai, et einei vil'am, vayar, et malach Adonai, nitzav b'derech, b'charabo shelufa biado, vayakud vayishtahu le'apav. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Oh, great job. Take that big sigh of relief. All your Hebrew's done. Woo! See that? That's what I call a big sigh. Great job. Don't go anywhere. We're going to invite Max to come back up to help dress the Torah as we all rise for this special honor and sing together the words that we sing at this time. Do you want to help you, brother? V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe yad arai rai 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 yai rai 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 yai rai 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 yai rai 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 rai. We're going to return the Torah to the ark as we sing the words Eitz Chaim together. Andrew, can you help me open the ark? Eitz Chaim hi lama hazikim ba v'tom hecha me'ushar derahecha darchei noam v'chol netivotecha shalom.
Seated. So, Andrew, you're not quite done yet. So, but the Hebrew part is over, as Cantor Shockett said. So, I am really looking forward to hearing you teach us something about the Torah portions. So, go for it.
Shalom. Before I begin my speech, I would like to thank everyone here for coming out to enjoy this very special day with me. This afternoon, I would like to tell you about what my Torah portion means to me. In my Torah portion, Balak asks Balaam to come to his kingdom to curse the Israelites. God tells Balaam he can go if he wishes, but he can only say what God commands him to say. While Balaam is heading to Balak's kingdom, God sends an angel as an adversary for Balaam to face. Seeing the angel with sword in hand, Balaam's donkey takes him off the path in an attempt to save Balaam from harm. Balaam, not seeing the angel, beats his donkey for humiliating him in front of his servants, and then he continues his journey. The donkey steers off the path several more times, and Balaam continues to beat her. Then God opens the donkey's mouth, and the donkey asks Balaam what she did to deserve getting beaten multiple times. Balaam replies that she humiliated him, and that if he had a weapon, Balaam would kill her. She then states that she's been carrying Balaam for years, and asks if she had been in the habit of disobeying him, and Balaam simply says no. God then opens Balaam's eyes, and he sees the angel and kneels down in respect. At first, when I read the passage, I couldn't make sense of the theme, moral, or message the story was trying to convey. In other words, I was seeing things like Balaam did in the story. My eyes were closed to the greater meaning of the text. Not until I opened my eyes to the whole of the story did I get the important lesson this passage was intended to deliver. As I attempted to look at the story from different perspectives and make sense of it, I realized the process of understanding the whole story was part of the lesson I was supposed to learn. In the process of reflection, another important lesson came into my view. Balaam had traveled with his donkeys for years, and yet he was willing to kill her for humiliating him. To me, this says that he's been taking his loyal companion for granted, just as many of us do in our everyday lives. I would like everyone here to think of someone who's carried you for years or your entire lives. Have you shown them gratitude? Have you appreciated them to the fullest? Maybe you have and maybe you haven't, but that doesn't mean you can't appreciate them more. Next time you're out doing even the simplest of things, think about who led you to that moment and broaden your eyes to see how much they've done for you. Before I end my speech, I would like to share my special gratitude to the people who made this all possible. I know I wouldn't have been able to do all that Hebrew the way I did without my tutor, Jonathan Kosserin. He's been so helpful, supportive, kind, and has done an amazing job preparing me for this day. I know it's just his job, but he acts like it's his entire life, devoting time for his students to be as prepared as possible. I would also like to thank my Hebrew school, Sunday school teachers, and the TRS clergy, and especially Rabbi Bernstein and Cantor Shockett for doing such an amazing job throughout the years. I'd like to thank my family members for being supportive of me the entire time and always cheering me on. To my grandparents, Stanley and Sylvia Applebaum, I can't thank you enough for always being curious about how my Hebrew is coming, checking on me, and always being there as the pillars that hold me up. To my brother Max, thank you for your words of encouragement and positive attitude as I learned my Hebrew. And finally, I want to give the biggest thank you to my mom and dad. It's difficult to express how much effort they put into making this entire bar mitzvah possible. My mom and dad are like the sun shining down on my earth in the building where I would be inside taking shelter from life. But now as this day ends, I'm stepping out of that protective shelter into the world as an independent being. Thank you.
Wow. I think I'm just not going to say anything, Andrew, but I'm going to ask you to stand over there. Because that was so beautiful, really. Just that metaphor at the end was absolutely beautiful, really. Mazel tov, and thank you for doing such an incredible job of leading us in worship, chanting Torah, and interpreting a Torah portion, which I remember when we first started talking about this, it was kind of, what in the heck am I supposed to get from this, right? A talking donkey? I mean, the Torah is full of all kinds of serious stuff, really serious stuff. And all of a sudden, there she is, this talking donkey. So I know that was challenging for you and for many people, not just for you. And I really love the first part of the lesson you took from it, which is that this is about the journey. There's a saying in our tradition that the Torah has 70 faces. I think it has a lot more than that. I think our ancestors liked the number 70, so they were sort of focused on that. If they'd multiplied it by 3, and what is that, 210? I don't know. Wouldn't have sounded as good. But the Torah has so many different ways that we can interpret it, and everybody brings to it what they see at this particular point in their own lives, and that's exactly what you did. And I just want to add another little bit of teaching to the beautiful piece of Torah that you taught us. So when we think of the Torah, as I said, a talking donkey is not really the first thing we think of, right? But there she is. And it would be tempting to kind of overlook her and say, there's more important stuff here, right? Or to sort of marginalize her significance to the story. And there's some delicious irony in this passage because Balaam is this renowned seer, right? He's supposed to be able to see things and predict things, but he can't even see, as you said, what's right in front of his eyes, the angel of God. So the text seems to be saying some prophet, some seer you are, even a donkey is capable of seeing what you are not. Of course, she's not an ordinary donkey. We have to give him that, right? And she's one of only 2 talking animals in the Torah. So I bet people here, maybe you can guess who the other one is. The snake in the Garden of Eden. So that's your factoid. Phone a friend, somebody calls you. The 2 talking animals in the Torah, we probably would all say the snake, but we might not all say, but you would, Andrew, you would say that. So nonetheless, this renowned seer, Balaam, misses this huge miracle that is right in front of his eyes. So the lesson that I am taking from this today is I'm asking what miracles we might miss that are right in front of our eyes. And one of our most important teachers, a person that lived in the Middle Ages called Nachmanides, called these the hidden miracles. These are day-to-day miracles that maybe we don't think of as miracles, but he said for him, they are the whole foundation of the Torah. We often consider that they're not really miraculous. They're things that happen every day. The sun comes up and so forth. But it turns out that Balaam has a lot in common with us. He too is distracted, right? He's distracted by his work. He's anxious to get to this meeting that he has with King Balak, and he's confused by these encounters that he has. He's really kind of distracted, and that describes us a lot of the time, right? We're kind of rushing around. We're not thinking really about looking at what's in front of us. And it's only when Balaam acknowledges the truth of what the donkey says that God uncovers Balaam's eyes and opens his eyes. And, during the last 15 months, we have had the chance to see and really see things that perhaps we haven't taken the time to see before. When we have had to slow things down with life. In the beginning, we were confined to being at home, and perhaps we appreciated things around us, or we had the opportunity to in ways that we did not before. To appreciate the daily miracles, and to appreciate, as you said, Andrew, those who've been carrying us for a very long time. And we know that this awareness for all of us the last 15 months has been very hard won, right? This slowing down, really trying to focus on what's important and seeing those daily miracles, appreciating the people who mean so much to us in our lives. And that is a hard-won awareness that I hope that we will all keep, even as we begin to emerge from this really, really challenging time. And to live this way, Andrew, and to continue to seek the lessons from the Torah, the 70-plus faces of the Torah, as you have done today, is truly a blessing. And you have blessed us with the way that you prepared, the way that you led the service, the way you taught us. And you're a blessing to your family, to our Rodef Shalom community, and to the Jewish people. And Cantor Shockett and I would like to give you our own blessing, and we'd like to invite Max to come back up to the bima, and your folks and you to join us here so that we can give you our blessing, and we invite everyone to rise.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
Andrew, may God always bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine on you, showing you all the many miracles that are all around us every day, and may God's light always be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha.
God's face always be lifted to you, and may you always experience a sense of God's wholeness, God's nearness, and God's peace.
Amen. Here's a song for you. Taking your place in an enduring line. This is the day that you stood up to say, our tradition is mine. You have now read the Torah. It's been passed on to you. It's our law and our story, but each telling is new. It is said we stood at Sinai, and today you know you're there. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. La'lechet bidrachav v'lishmor mitzvotav kol hayamim. May you walk in God's ways, and may all of your days be blessings. It is said we stood at Sinai, and today you know you're there. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer. And now we're going to ask our congregation to rise as we turn back to our prayer books To begin the concluding prayers of our service, we turn to page 282 as I chant together, and please join me, the Aleinu L'Shabech, page 282. Aleinu L'Shabech Ladon HaKol, Lateit Gedula Liotzer Breshit, Shehu Noteh Shamayim V'Yoser Aretz, Umoshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Ima'al, Ushchinatu Zo B'Govhei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Va'anachnu Koreim, O Mishtachavim Umodim, Livnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom ha'u yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Today we think of all of those who helped to make us the people that we are, our family members, our friends who were so dear to us who are no longer living. And as we prepare to say the Mourner's Kaddish, we think in particular today of Andrew's grandparents, Maxine Applebaum, Jack Schaub, and Ginny Moran. And we turn to page 294, and I invite you to rise and join me in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shamei rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon v'yomechon, U'v'chaye dekol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agola v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Olamei Omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe Shalomo Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of all of our loved ones always be for blessing. Please be seated. It's now my pleasure to welcome Karen Apsal, who is the co-chair of our membership committee and a member of the Board of Trustees of Temple Road of Shalom, for some words of welcome and, most importantly, some gifts for Andrew.
Hi, I'm Karen Apsal. Mazel tov, Andrew. You did a great job. And you can breathe, and your parents can breathe. Mazel tov to you. We're so proud of you and your accomplishments and your commitment to Judaism. We have a bunch of gifts for you, which I'm going to tell you what they are so we don't have to pull them all out. First is a beautiful certificate designed by a member of our congregation affirming this wonderful occasion. From the women of TRS, a copy of our Reform Movement's home prayer book. Inside the envelope are 2 gift certificates. The first is from NIFTY, the North American Federation of Temple Youth, to use toward travel in Israel during your high school years. The second is a gift certificate from our youth committee and trustee. And finally, a Kiddush cup from the clergy. It is our hope that you use it each Shabbat as you continue to celebrate your Jewish life. So Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. You can take your gifts. To the congregation, thank you for being with us. We hope that we are able to welcome you back in the near future, and Shabbat Shalom.
So our concluding service our concluding song, is page 322. Page 322. We'll join together in the singing of Ein Kelohenu. Please rise and remain standing for the final benediction. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kel Malkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Cheloheinu, Mi Chadonenu, Mi Chel Malkeinu, Mi Chemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel El Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God give us strength, and may God always bless us with peace. Amen. Shabbat shalom.